We are meeting to resume public hearings on Bill 46, an act to amend various acts. To ensure that everyone who speaks is heard and understood, it is important that all participants speak slowly and clearly. Please wait until you are recognized by the chair before speaking. As always, all comments should go through the chair. As a reminder, each presenter will have 7 minutes for their presentation, and after we have heard from all the presenters, the remaining 39 minutes of the time slot will be for questions from members of the committee. This time for questions will be divided into 2 rounds of 6.5 minutes for the government members, 2 rounds of 6.5 minutes for the official opposition members, and 2 rounds of 6.5 minutes for the third party. I will now call on Nina in the first part of our grouping to begin, and we have I'm sorry, the second, the third presenter on your list is here, Anand, and the in the middle, they're going to be virtual. So the Northern Ontario Service Deliverers Association will go after. So each of the presenters go, and then the rounds of questions will start. So please begin, Nina.
Good afternoon, Chair and committee members. My name is Nina Deeb. I've been a real estate broker in this province, and I've studied real estate since 1995. I'm a full-time realtor. This bill has 22 schedules, and I can get behind most of them. The schedules that I would like to see deleted, I'm going to just rhyme them off because I'm not going to have enough time, I don't think, to go through my reasoning. So I would like to delete schedules 5, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 16, and I will go through the reasons why. If I do run out of time, and if there's, I would love to add the rest of the reasons through the question period, if that's a possibility. The Consumer Protection Act does not apply to the largest purchase the consumers make, which is a house. This omission is problematic and extremely profitable for all of Ontario's new consumer protection agencies. These corporations are running the law for profit on behalf of the Government of Ontario. These are red tape corporations. Administrative agencies are the P3 partners of government that we did not elect. Only one of these tax-exempt corporations existed when I became a realtor. Ontario's consumer protection laws have been designed to protect corporations at the consumer's expense. For example, Tarion. The agencies are often the subject of the Ontario auditor reports, and I do read them. Most of my opinion comes through the investigations with these organizations. These private corporations are not correctable. I was originally trying to correct them, but they're very arrogant. They're not correctable. The Guild Socialism in Canada is a product of the Free Trade Agreement. It is the pressure of America on Canada that has given us these administrative authorities that break the law for profit while defunding the province, the country, suing our municipalities, and combating new home buyers. They increase the cost for consumers, making life more expensive. They create job losses. They have the power to obstruct an independent contractor's accounts receivable. Expiry of reward points. Reward points are a form of corporation-created currency. These points are tender since the consumer can make purchases with them. The main issuers are the 5 big banks, grocers, and corporations. The banks create their own currency, and then they destroy the balance that consumers collect. That's been my experience. This is called money changing, and it's been around since biblical times. It should be outlawed. This benefits corporations at the consumer's expense. The issuers have the power to deplete the value of your account with administrative tricks, platform migration, and apply arbitrary conditions, which result in the account holder having their balance reduced or completely depleted by the points issuer. A change of currency also changes what the points can purchase. That is theft. RBC depleted my rewards points that I'd collected since 1998 when they migrated to a new platform in 2021. This wiped out my balance of approximately $20,000. I don't know what the amount is. It was an online program, and once it was depleted, I had no access. TD applied my points to someone else's account, and when I inquired about them, they told me the benefactor had already spent them. So apparently they couldn't reappoint the points that they had fabricated in the first place. And my Scotia rewards were drastically reduced when Scotia converted them to scene points in 2021. I'd collected these points since I was 18. Corporations are not honoring the currency they create. They are also the benefactors of the points program when the account holder dies. The Bay decided their points were suddenly worthless and refused to honor them. Points manipulations, refusing to accept the currency is theft. The government stated they're getting rid of what doesn't make sense. We have over 400,000 laws, regulations in Ontario. The government stated plans to reduce the legal burden by over 100,000 rules, regulations, and laws. We don't need MPAC. They haven't bothered with a provincial-wide assessment since 2016. All they do is cost municipalities money, which increases property taxes. This is a do-nothing corporation. We don't need TRESA, which disguises 5 wealth transfers. 4 of the wealth transfers are to RECO. Section 27 is a conductor of a wealth transfer from consumers to real estate brokerages. This small little clause is worth $130 million a year in interest on consumer deposits. This arrangement has set Ontario's brokerages up to profit from agreement breaches. This contradicts my business model and efforts to protect against contracts being breached. We don't need any of the private corporations that are charging AMPs, collecting mandatory monopoly insurance while enjoying their tax-exempt statuses. This includes most of the boards and associations in Ontario. Ontario does not need any of the delegated authorities. These corporations are new and are a form of taxation by private corporations. The delegated authorities are wealth transfer corporations. Tarion, HCRA, CAO, CMAO, VQAO, OMVIC, TSSA, ESA, Ontario One Call, RHRA, TICO, RECO, and BAO, which is the unnamed authority of Schedule 11. Administrative penalties to the Bereavement Authority of Ontario is not supported. BAO must be dismantled. BAO has the same special interest group as RECO. They shared the same Royal LePage chair, and it is one of the startup businesses of the former Ontario Information Commissioner, Tom Wright. RECO's dismissed registrar migrated from the BAO and should be investigated for insurance fraud. RECO is a wealthy corporation. Before RECO is dismantled, RECO's reserve funds must be used to reimburse the agent's losses, and all consumers must be made whole on their deposits. RECO must be made to pay for the mishandling of the iPro case. It isn't just iPro agents that are affected. It's every agent that sold an iPro listing. It also affects the employees of the 2,400 agents. Many agents are employers. My office has over 100 employees that are not employed by the brokerage. They're actually employed by agents. So there are no accounts receivable. Payroll cannot be met. RECO caused job losses. iPro commissions have not been paid since August 14, 2015.
1 minute remaining.
These commissions are not recoverable under RECO. When RECO hid this, they took away both the consumers and the registrants' abilities to protect themselves. No one knew the trust monies were not safe except for the registrar. On Monday, the province took over RECO and dismissed the board of directors. The spouse of RECO's chair is the incoming chair of Toronto Real Estate Board. There's no accountability or fairness when it comes to corporate greed. These associations were taken over and dominated by Brookfield. Often 50% of the boards are Brookfield brand agents. A broker that did not cancel a shown appointment was fined $2,000. A broker that steals $10.5 million of trust funds is charged nothing. The difference between these two brokers is the broker not charged is a former RECO director. Regarding reducing the burden of paperwork for businesses, my paperwork just gets more and more all the time, so that's not happening. The red tape corporations have smothered housing. I have named them. We must remove them.
I'm sorry, your time is completed, Ms. Deeb. I'll now move to the second group of presenters in this, the Northern Ontario Service Deliverers Association. Just again, remind you to state your name before you speak. Go ahead. Whoever would like to start.
Merci. Yes, good afternoon, Chair and other standing committee members. Thank you for the opportunity to appear today. My name is Michelle Boileau. I'm the Mayor of Timmins and the Chair of the Northern Ontario Service Deliverers Association, NOSDA. With me today are Brian Marks, Lead CAO, and Fern Dominelli, the Executive Director for NOSDA. I'm here to express our strong support for the regulation changes under Bill 46 that would make District Social Services Administration Boards, DSABs, eligible to apply to the Infrastructure Ontario Loan Program. NOSDA is the Association of Northern Ontario's Service System Managers, the 10 DSABs plus the City of Greater Sudbury. Collectively, our members deliver essential human services across geography larger than many provinces. We deliver community housing, homelessness prevention, early years and childcare, Ontario Works, and paramedic services. In housing specifically, NOSDA members directly own 9,322 community housing units and support an additional 7,513 nonprofit units and 3,612 rent supplement portfolios. So except for Toronto and Ottawa, taken together, our members constitute the third largest social and community housing provider in Ontario. That scale gives us both responsibility and urgency to modernize and expand the housing we provide in the North. Most of our publicly owned stock was built in the 1970s and 1980s. Much of it is at our near end of life and requires deep renewal or replacement to meet today's health, safety, accessibility, and energy performance standards. At an estimated replacement cost on the order of $375,000 to $500,000 per unit, the North faces a multi-billion-dollar reinvestment requirement over the next 2 decades. Renewal is not an option. It's essential to protect vulnerable tenants, to keep families stably housed, and to ensure Northern employers can recruit and retain the workforce they need. Under the current framework, DSABs, the very entities responsible for the capital planning and delivery of housing, are not eligible to borrow directly from Infrastructure Ontario. In contrast, local housing corporations that are wholly owned by DSABs, as well as many of the nonprofit providers we fund, can apply for IO financing. This creates a misalignment. The accountable service manager with the balance sheet and the capital plan is ineligible, while its subsidiaries or funded providers are eligible. As a result, Northern DSABs have had to rely on private lenders at higher rates to proceed with critical renewal and development projects. Every additional basis point diverts scarce resources away from homes and tenants. The proposed regulation changes would correct this inconsistency by recognizing DSABs as eligible borrowers under the Infrastructure Ontario Loan Program. This is not about special treatment. It is about parity and practicality. DSAB eligibility would allow the service manager, the organization already accountable for asset management, life cycle planning, and municipal levy impacts, to match projects to the most efficient borrowing tool available. Importantly, every DSAB application would still be subject to Infrastructure Ontario standard project-by-project due diligence, financial merit tests, and risk assessments. Infrastructure Ontario typically provides borrowing at rates below comparable private market options. Even a seemingly modest rate advantage on the order of 0.5 percentage point produces substantial savings over 25 to 30-year amortizations. For example, on a representative 7.5 million 20-unit redevelopment over 25 years, a 50 basis points reduction in interest costs can save roughly $600,000 over the life of the loan. So scaled across Northern Ontario's agent portfolio, those savings translate to millions that stay in the system, funding more roof replacements, deeper energy retrofits, and additional new buildings. For municipal taxpayers who already contribute a significant share of our operating budgets through the levy, this is a direct, measurable value for money outcome. Extending IO eligibility to DSABs advances the province's housing supply and infrastructure modernization objectives. It accelerates the renewal and replacement of aging community housing, supports infill and densification where services exist, and strengthens northern economic growth by ensuring safe, affordable homes for workers, seniors, and families. It also supports resilience, better built, energy efficient housing, lowers operating costs, reduces emissions, and improves tenant health outcomes, delivering broader public value. And so to summarize, NOSDA members manage one of Ontario's largest social and community housing portfolios outside the 2 biggest cities. Our stock is aging, and we need to stretch every public dollar. Allowing DSABs to borrow through Infrastructure Ontario is a practical, targeted fix that will save money, speed up projects, and deliver better homes across Northern Ontario. On behalf of NOSDA, I respectfully ask that this committee to support the Bill 46 regulatory amendments that make DSABs eligible for Infrastructure Ontario Loan Program and to move these changes forward without delay. And so thank you, merci miigwech, to all members of the committee for your attention and for your work on this file. I would be pleased to answer your questions, and in my inability to answer, to defer to one of my colleagues. Merci encore.
Thank you very much for your presentation. We'll now go to the final presenter in this round from Access to Pay Limited, Mr. Monsieur. Please start.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, committee members. My name is Anand Mazir. I'm the CEO of Access to Pay. We help municipalities modernize their revenue operations across Ontario. We are based in Ontario. We've worked with municipalities like the City of Brampton, Town of Oakville, Service New Brunswick out east, with the aim of removing manual processes, automating processes, and getting rid of repetitive processes through the revenue collection process so staff can focus on delivering service to residents. I wanted to spend my time kind of highlighting something that we've seen with pretty much every municipality that we've talked to across the province is a lot of manual work, a lot of disjointed systems that impact their ability to deliver service. Staff can't be expected to offer service like what residents expect out of their private sector. If they are burdened with Excel spreadsheets, manual entry from one system to the other, and then when something inevitably goes wrong, when you're manually entering something, the resource suck of finding that receipt from a month ago across multiple departments. Just as an example, in terms of the City of Brampton, they weren't able to accept payment for a building permit prior to implementing our system. Developers needed to go to City Hall and present a check before their permits could even begin to be processed. Just by integrating systems at a technical level, making sure that staff can focus on delivering service rather than manual grunt work that any little robot could do, I think is an important foundation to accomplish the things that this bill is aiming to accomplish. I'm going to go short on my time here, but that's pretty much all I got. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much to all the presenters. And we will now start with the third-party MPP Watt for your first round of 6.5 minutes, please.
Perfect. Thank you, Chair, and thank you everyone for coming today to be a part of this important process. My first question is going to be for Nina. So when we're talking about, private regulators and those delegated authorities outside direct government oversight, this could reduce transparency and impose costs on consumers. Bill 46 makes several changes through regulation rather than clear statutory requirements. So my ask to you is, do you see this as deepening reliance on delegated authorities and broad regulatory regimes? If so, what risk does this pose for accountability and fairness in sectors like housing and consumer protections?
That's a great question. Thank you for the question. So there's a section regarding the Bereavement Authority of Ontario. Although it's not named, it does name the administrative authorities just in general. So the powers that I see in that schedule, so I've asked for that schedule to be taken out. It looks like it's for funerals, but it actually involves a lot more than that. I think it's 12 pages long. So what's in there is the registrar powers. There's also a change in the minister being able to appoint the registrar. So RECO was just taken over by, this bill came out June 5th, so RECO has happened since. So me being able to incorporate RECO and their registrar into this is fantastic. But on Monday, the government took over the Real Estate Council of Ontario for bad behavior, and they dismissed the brokers of the board. But what has happened now is with this bill, this will expand the minister's reach into the sector of regulation through the administrator that has been put in for RECO has all the powers of the board of directors, the registrar, and the CEO. So one person now has all those powers. I don't agree with that. Like, I don't want RECO. I'd like to see RECO disbanded. What they did was horrible. But the registrar powers, the one-man powers have to go, and registrars of private corporations should not be entrusted with one-man powers to make decisions like this. Now, what he did, he was within his powers to do what he did with the iPro case, and the reason that happened is because registrars were given too much power in 2020. I did speak on that bill when that happened, so the registrar powers are a big issue. I don't want to see the registrar powers expanded or the minister appointing registrars. The board of directors does that.
Thank you. Do you believe that, and this question again is for you, do you believe that Bill 46's approach, which shifts many statutory duties to regulation or exemptive powers, undermines property rights or housing security for Ontarians, and which provisions raise the greatest concern for homeowners and renters?
Yes, I do. I think that it makes it worse. And one of the reasons, like there's 20 ministries that got together on this for this bill. So there was a lot of ministers putting in their input. And one of the things that I see, like I see the Consumer Protection Act, like the changes that are there, like allowing corporations to expire your points, like how does that protect Ontario, the people of Ontario, against anything? Like that actually puts the people of Ontario at risk. We don't want our points to expire. We don't want corporations coming at us and saying, oh, well, you can hire a lawyer now and come after us and you can have your day in court. The person that needs their day in court, like with this Bill 46, is the widow in section, the widow that is losing her day in court to IM Gold. So that, to me, Schedule 9. So I'd like to see Schedule 9 come out of there, because as a citizen of this province, I find that nauseating. That must absolutely come out. This isn't what we use the Ontario legislature for. It's not to get in the way of a widow's day in court. She should have her day in court. That's not the purpose of this legislature.
So you bring up Schedule 5, and I know this has been kind of a hot topic in the news and the legislature lately, but the purpose is supposed to be to actually protect those points, right? And it all sounds good until those last few words about it being subject to regulation. Is that your concern?
That absolutely is my concern. So when something's subject to regulation, it doesn't come back to cabinet, it doesn't come back for a decision here. I don't get to say anything about it. I can talk to the private corporation, maybe that has this power, has been given this extra power. But I don't talk to these private corporations anymore because, like I have mentioned, they're not correctable. These are wealth transfer corporations, and I'm not negotiating with them anymore. My only opinion on them is they have to go. They must be disbanded.
Would you be supportive of that schedule if that regulation piece was taken out?
I think so. I didn't see anything else there other than that. I think that I could be supportive of that. But like I said, like giving the consumers the option of going legal on a large corporation, like David and Goliath, like that really isn't enough. Like I don't think people, when you look at that, they can say, oh, we're giving you this possibility. $500 an hour for a lawyer to go after, to get your points back from a corporation, I don't see that as enough.
60 seconds remaining.
Okay. I was going to ask NOSDA something, but we don't really have much time. So in my next round, I'll come back to you all. So.
Okay. Thank you very much. Now to the government side, MPP Rydzinski.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to all the presenters for coming and speaking to this important bill, Bill 46, and for your insights on it. And Mike, I want to ask Mr. Mazir a question. I used to be a Halton Hills Town Councillor before coming to this place, and I think I might have used your services. I'm not sure if you're
Nope,
Halton Hills.
not
Yet, no. But I really appreciate your advocacy on trying to find ways that we can streamline processes, like digitize processes, and so just wanted to ask, how simplifying regulatory processes support your clients.
Well, it helps with procurement, right? So if they have a need for something like our solution in terms of delivering service, it's really just the whole mandate out of the bill is how are you going to be able to deliver service at a better level? And looking with that mandate, they can look to the market and see that there are solutions out there that can help optimize internal services and operations so they can deliver service better and cut red tape.
And how does modernizing these processes improve trust between businesses and government?
Well, sorry, at a certain point, it's expectations, right? So after COVID, everybody expects to get their stuff immediately, and you'll click a button on Amazon. And I think with meeting expectations builds trust. There's also a level of transparency through the process where now you can report, you can provide updates on your permit when it's you don't hear from somebody for 30 days. You can get up to the day, up to the minute updates with where your file is within that system because things are speaking to each other, automated, and it's not somebody manually punching things in, and the resident can have a portal where they can look at it and get updates right away and ask questions and even interact about their file.
Thank you, Chair. I'll cede the rest of my time to my colleagues.
Okay. MPP Saunderson, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and I want to thank all our presenters today for taking time in your busy schedules to come and present to us. And my question is going to be to the Northern Ontario Service Deliveries Association, and it's great to see everyone again. I think the last time I saw you was at AMO, and we were talking about landlord-tenant board issues for you guys. And I appreciate and know firsthand the incredible work that you do in your communities up there, and thank you for that. And thank you for also participating in the MOI's regulatory registry for your input on this legislation that we have before us today. And Michelle, in your comments, you were very specific about some of the numbers. I think you told us for a $7.5 million project, this could save your organization about $600,000 over the course of the loan. And it's that kind of granular information that's very useful to us. But I'm wondering if you've told us you're the third biggest association, landlord association across the province. I'm wondering if you can tell us in terms of your current, give us some numbers in terms of your current inventory, how this could assist you in adding to that inventory, adding to moving forward. This is a big part of our efforts in this province to get rental housing out there, and we've had some good results, but getting it affordable and in the rent-controlled areas is a very important part for us all across the province, but particularly, as you've said, in Northern Ontario, where there's such a need. So I'm wondering if you can tell us how you think this will translate to boots-on-the-ground numbers increases for your portfolio.
No, thank you for the question. And I will definitely ask one of my colleagues to speak further to this, but no, I'll start us off because it wouldn't guarantee projects moving forward by any means, but it would allow our members to have more options to be able to find a deeper depth of affordability for the projects that are moving forward and finding the best loan rates possible. And so it may very well mean that in the future, market market rates would still be more competitive and would allow for, deeper affordability in any project. However, in the case where the IO loan program would be, better, more feasible, then that would become an option to us. But right now, we just don't even have the option to be exploring that and to be able to try crunch those numbers to find more affordability. But I'll ask one of my colleagues, either Brian or Fern, who they're working in the numbers and the spreadsheets where they're kind of collating all the information across Northern Ontario. So they might have a better idea of, in terms of dollars and cents, how this could really impact. Brian or Fern?
Sure. So think of it as in much the same way that cost inflation factors are determined by a basket of goods. If you think about that in a construction context, the cost of money is one of the large drivers, in addition to the cost of materials, and cost of property, and then all of the factors that go into it after the fact, like operating costs. The way we create affordable housing without provincial or federal grant money, which hasn't been on the table for Northern Ontario service deliverers over the last decade, is to drive down all of those costs to the lowest possible denominator, including going to municipalities to waive property tax rates for affordable units. And certainly one of the best ways to do that is to drive down one of the key costs, such as long-term financing, is to access innovative programs like Infrastructure Ontario or Build Ontario. And so that's what we're looking for in this case, is just to provide another lever that we can access to create affordable rents.
Just to give you an idea of that 600,000 to replace our 9,300 units that we directly own, that could be savings of about $250 million over the next 20 or 30 years, and that money would come straight out of local property tax base. So that's why it's important for us.
It's about 30 seconds left.
30 seconds?
Yeah.
Not a lot of time, but again, I want to thank you for your comments today and for your input on this. I think, Michelle, you made a good point. Well, you've all made good points, thank you. But the dynamic of building homes in the market that we're living in right now is very difficult. So I want to thank all of you for your input in helping us to push this forward, and we look forward to seeing the results should this bill pass. So thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll now move over to the official opposition. MPP Tabbins, 6.5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Chair. I appreciate the opportunity. Ms. Deeb, I found your presentation to be quite interesting. Could you speak to the total value of the points that will be lost, the dollar value to consumers, if this change goes ahead, essentially extinguishing them?
Yes, so I think it will be in the billions of dollars. Like myself, I went through what my point values were. Like I've collected my points most of my life, and I saved them for I'm someday going to go to Bora Bora on my 25th anniversary. Like that was really my intent with those RBC points. So when those got depleted, it was a real eye-opener for me to see that corporations can do this, because they have record profits. Like the 5 big banks have record profits. They issue this currency and then they wipe it out. So I think that, like in my situation, I lost probably about $25,000 worth of points through those 3 big banks. Like those 3 banks alone, I lost about $25,000 in points. Other people, how much they could lose, like I think what are we, about 14 million people in Ontario, and a lot of people collect points. We rely on points, and those points should be there when we go to use them. Like saving your points shouldn't mean that you lose them. It's an account, like it's a type of account, and often it's online that you get no records on these points.
Yep. Interestingly, the minister said that in fact it was a misrepresentation to say that people would lose their points, and in fact there would be an increase in the rights of points holders through adoption of this bill. In your earlier commentary, you said giving points holders the opportunity to go to court to fight these corporations was not necessarily a gift. Very few people have the money that would allow them to carry forward a successful legal action. Can you expand on your assessment of the minister's trade-off on this issue?
It's tricky words. Like the words that are being used in that schedule are tricks, because to be able to do it later through regulation means it doesn't come back to cabinet. We don't get a chance to say anything about this. So it can be done later. It can't be done now, as she's stating, but it can be done later through regulation. And that's the loophole that I don't want to see. I want that loophole closed. I don't want these points to expire. And the corporations that are behaving this way, that are expiring points on individuals, I don't think going to court, I don't think me being a David taking a Goliath to court is a good solution. It should be illegal for them to expire your points on you like that. Like I've got decades worth of points that I've lost. And at the end of the day, the banks have a lot more money than I do. And they're reward points. Like the visa I have, it actually has a very high interest rate if you carry a balance, and you get more points because you have that visa. So to have your points depleted later, so if I was to carry a balance on that card, because it's a points card, and that's why I chose it. Like I chose it because I wanted the points. And I also, what I also took with that is I'll have to pay a higher interest rate if I carry a balance. And the reason for that was because they'll give you more points on a card like that.
So what you're saying effectively is you've been paying for those points.
Absolutely.
You've been paying with a higher interest rate for those points.
Yeah, you pay for those points. You're buying certain things because you'll get more points. Like the shoppers, if you buy this product instead of that product, you get more optimum points. When you're grocery shopping at FreshCo, if you buy 3 of these instead of this, you can buy them at this price with your points again. You have seen points, that one. But the points the value of the points can be changed without the consumer's consent. And the consumer's only recourse is to take them to court. I don't think that's a good recourse for consumers. I don't think that's consumer protection at all.
Thank you for that. One other question. You, if I understand correctly, felt that TSSA, amongst other organizations, should not be around. Did I misunderstand you?
No, I think they should all be removed.
And do you think they should be replaced by direct regulation on the part of the provincial government?
That is what we had before. So before, the government was regulating the severances from government to these private corporations. These private corporations, like RECO alone, collected over $1 billion. It's a very new corporation. Mm-hmm. They've collected over $1 billion. They don't pay taxes. Like, what do we get from this thing that is just siphoning up all this money? TICO spent the compensation fund. So when I look at TECO and say, what's my issue with TECO? It's like, don't you want this first? Like, oh, they spent the compensation fund, like it's in the Ontario Auditor Report. And we gave them $10.3 million during COVID relief to businesses. So I don't see these entities, the TSSA. You know what? When I
One
remember with
minute
TSSA,
remaining.
the propane explosion. I remember the propane explosion in Toronto. So that's one of my reasons and my issues with the TSSA. The other issue I have with the TSSA, it's only 2 floors up from the Real Estate Council of Ontario. They're in the same building. And the CEO of the TSSA, he traveled a whole 2 floors down to be the CEO of the Real Estate Council of Ontario. So it's a very small group of business interests. What's happening with these delegate authorities, it's only about 300-400 people. But these are special interest businesses that are not government.
Okay, thank you. I know my time's
It's only
short,
20
so-
seconds left, yes. Okay. Thank you very much, MPP.
Thank you.
You can go for your
Madam
last
Chair.
round.
My question for NOSDA, it's great to see you all here virtually. And so there are some good stuff in this omnibus bill, another omnibus bill for us here at Queen's Park. And you've highlighted one of them that you fully support. My concern is the centralization of power that we're seeing in this bill. We're seeing it really in every omnibus bill that's being put forward here. So Bill 46's tendency to allow ministers to regulate by decree, bypassing more transparent legislative and municipal oversight could, in effect, centralize power. So from your point of view, does this centralization erode local autonomy and democratic accountability for Northern Service Boards? And what safeguards should be in place to protect local control and transparency under this bill?
Good question. Bringing it back to the local service boards.
Well, I would just suggest that given the fact that housing is a priority for all parties, and over the last 25 years since we've been in business, there have been a number of governments that have failed to invest in housing. I'd suggest that by implementing the ability for DSEPs to be able to borrow funds in an objective way actually secures our ability to be able to develop housing regardless of political stripe post-election. So it's just one more tool in our toolbox to be able to get the work done that we need to get done, because we're desperate for people to remain in Northern Ontario and to build affordable housing, to be able to attract our youth back after the university, or to serve as a destination of choice for new Canadians so that we can alleviate capacity problems in Southern Ontario.
To that, perhaps I would just add that our district social service administration boards are comprised of elected officials from the member municipalities, and so it's actually municipal elected officials that sit at those board levels. And so, not speaking to any of the other parts of the omnibus bill, this section specifically is fully supported by NOSDA, because it would give us that ability to be able to make, better choices, in the sense that there are just more options present to us, and those decisions are made by the local municipal officials.
Good. Well, thank you very much. I'm going to move on to Mr. Messer. Pardon? Missouri, sorry, thank you. So I want to talk about kind of the security and cybersecurity behind this. You're a good one who knows lots about this. So Schedule 6, it reduces what consumer reporting agencies must disclose to a consumer, removing email addresses and limiting identifiers. Does this reduce transparency create challenges for fraud prevention or identity verification processes in cloud-based POS systems, and how might it affect your ability to detect suspicious activity?
So when we deploy cloud POS systems, which is exactly what we do, we don't look at what the law is. We look at what the standards are in the industry. So there's SOC 2 standards, there's OAuth standards. We're deploying on large cloud environments like Google, Amazon, who have data centers in Canada, in Ontario, who make sure that the data is stored in a manner that is compliant with the law. We adhere to the standard, the industry standard, which also complies to the law, but it flows up. So the infrastructure guy is somebody like Google, and they will adhere to the law, and they won't let you do anything outside of the law. Using a solution where somebody's hosting something out of their basement, that's a different discussion. But delivering a municipal level solution, the municipalities are going to have standards, and those standards are going to match what the industry expects, and then you flow up there to the big infrastructure providers. So short answer, no, in terms of your direct question.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much. So your systems also, they handle very sensitive consumer and transactional data. Mm-hmm. Given this bill's weakening of disclosure requirements, do you believe that this could make it harder for consumers to detect unauthorized access or fraud? And how might that impact POS providers who rely on accurate, transparent credit access records?
So part of those standards is you have to disclose, right? So if we have a breach, within 12 hours, we have a disclosure period that we have to provide to customers or anybody whose data we're holding. And again, that is the industry standard. You lose a certification, and then you lose standing in the market when you're not adhering to those standards. Mm-hmm. We go through a very rigorous process beyond just technology to achieve these certifications, and to lose them is a really, really big deal, and it affects the business tremendously. And so to a certain extent, the reduction in terms of what the legal requirement is, the market has already established a higher requirement than
1 minute remaining.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm happy to heed the rest of my minute if anyone wants to speak more. Sure, go for it.
So for my report, so the red tape corporations have smothered housing. We must remove them. Red tape reduction now means cutting corners. It means shortcuts for chosen corporations. It means MZOs and special economic zones and ex parte proceedings. It means red tape for some and a green light for others, which takes me to Schedule 8, the Crown Forest Sustainability Act. I agree with the Member of Parliament that this is selective deregulation. The schedule must be deleted. It jeopardizes our forestry sector. It will cost us more job losses. We grow some of the best trees in the world. Ontario has our very high quality lumber to create economic opportunities.
Thank you very much. Your time is out, Ms. Deeb. Thank you so much. Oh, the government side, MPP Rosinsky.
Thank you, Chair. Just waiting for the
Yep.
coming. There we go. Thank you, Chair. Appreciate it. And I want to ask NOSDA a question as well. And I'm not from Northern Ontario, from Wellington Halton Hills in the sunny south here, but I was newly elected alongside MPP Rosenberg from Algoma, Manitoulin, who's doing a fantastic job with our government. And so I wanted to just ask you if you could elaborate on the benefits that this amendment could have for DSABs in northern communities in general. Like you mentioned in one of your statements, we were desperate to try and get people to come to the north, to stay in the north. I had lots of conversations with MPP Rosenberg about the needs in his community, so I just wanted to give you the opportunity to elaborate a bit more on how this will help that goal.
Well, thank you for that opportunity to just continue to expand on this. As was mentioned, we have an aging stock in Northern Ontario, and the stock isn't sufficient. We need to continue to build more. And that being said, with the cost of money, as Brian pointed out, often leads to projects not being able to move forward. And all too often, I've been around the table where we've had to make the decision not to move forward with a project because of the cost to borrow. And so with that being said, eligibility for DSABs to the Infrastructure Ontario program would allow us, again, to be able to shop for the cheapest dollars to be able to move forward with projects. And with, we've mentioned the aging stock, and Fern had shared that over the next 25 to 30 years, it could represent a savings of over $250 million. Those are dollars that can remain with our members, with the service boards, and can be repurposed to, again, retrofit, maintain, or build new. And so essentially it would just let us be able to do more with what we have. I don't know if Brian or Fern wants to expand on that, perhaps even mentioning the number of projects that we have currently in the hopper that we're, currently working on the financial models to be able to deliver on.
I mean,
Sure.
yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, like, Halton is no stranger to having rural communities. In Northern Ontario, of the 140 municipalities covered by the 10 DSABs, 90% of them have a population under 5,000 people. They need housing, and they need the housing that they have to stay standing. So for us to be able to access innovative financing programs, that's one of the ways that we can keep housing standing, but also to deliver new. To the point where we've actually accumulated almost 1,000, or just over 1,000 units for new construction in a portfolio level build from Quebec to Manitoba, north of Parry Sound. And I'm presuming that not 100% of that will be grant money, so we're going to need to access as low financing rates as we can through whatever means we can.
That's great. And unlike some claims we heard today, I don't believe cutting red tape is about cutting corners, or that's what is presented in this bill. I think this is about reducing complexity, simplifying processes. And would you characterize this change as that, or as cutting corners?
No, the change regarding DSAB's eligibility to Infrastructure Ontario would, I wouldn't characterize it as cutting corners per se. This is something that our team has been working with the Ministry of Infrastructure's team on for well over a decade, if not more, and trying to figure out why it hasn't already been considered and how we can make it work. And so this is work that's been done over a long period of time, and we're finally at this point. And so we would see this as just being an enhancement to the toolkit that our service managers have available to them.
Thank you, Chair.
Of the over 140 municipalities, those municipal councils all sit on our DSAB boards, and every time we go to borrow, they ask us, why aren't you using IO? And we say we can't. So every time we're going to banks and they're saying there's got to be better ways and better interest rates. So for us, it's like a practical solution.
Well, thank you, Chair. I got into politics to solve problems, so I appreciate that.
Thank you so much. And Mr. Dominel, just say your name for Hansard purpose in the recording.
Oh, it's Fern Dominelli.
You guys okay? Okay. Thank you very much. There's a minute 45, if anybody, MPP Sandhu.
Thank you, Chair. And I would like to thank all the presenters for their presentation today and for being here. I would direct my question to Mr. Anand Misra. Could you please, being a Brampton member, if you could please share with the committee the work you've been doing with the City of Brampton, and how would your work help cut the red tape in the city and across the province?
Yeah, so the City of Brampton went through a RFP process, and they selected us to modernize their revenue collection infrastructure. So we deploy over the counter. We have clerks using our solution in the back office, and they have online portals that residents can log into and pay. When somebody pays for something now, opposed to when before, that payment record gets into what they're paying for immediately. I mentioned building permits. Previously, the payment mechanism was a check that somebody had to mail or walk into, and a clerk would need to take that check and manually enter it into the permit issuing system to get the permit issued. Now all of those things are connected, whether it be property tax, parking tickets, building permits, even wine and beer at the theater department. Everything is reconciled immediately because we also do the accounting records to the accounting system as well. So it takes away a lot of manual work from clerks and from your accounting folks to make sure they can focus on doing their job at the highest level.
There's 20 seconds left, roughly.
I just want to thank you. Thanks for the great work you're doing, and I want to thank the presenters once again for being here.
Thanks so much. We'll now go to the final round of this round. MPP Tabbins.
Okay, Chair, thank you very much. I'm curious with Northern Ontario Service Delivery Association. Can you again tell me what the advantage is to your projects to have a reshaped relationship with Infrastructure Ontario?
The advantage would be that our service deliverers or housing system managers would be eligible to Infrastructure Ontario's loan program,
And
eventually allowing us to find the best possible interest rate for any loan that we'd be engaging in.
And have you done a calculation as to how much that would be of value to you in terms of number of units that you would be able to build if you were not otherwise eligible to access those funds?
Well, it's from Domino. Typically, we're saying it's about 0.5% we would save by having an IO loan as opposed to a bank loan. And we're saying it's about $600,000 on a 20-unit build. So with 600,000, you could build at least one more unit. So out of the 9,300 units that we currently own, we would save about 250 million over the next, to be fair, over the next 20 to 30 years as we replace them. So that would, for every 20, we have an extra unit. So it is significant. And I'm just assuming 0.5.
Okay. Chair, I actually have no other questions.
Okay.
Cede my time.
Well, thank you very much to all the presenters. And I'll give you a minute to step away from the table. And for the next round, we're going to have the Ontario Federation of Snowmobile Clubs is going to be virtual. And the second presenter is the Police Association of Ontario, and I believe they're here. So when there's time, you can just come to the table. Thank you.